This is going to be a fun Elite Recruiter podcast. I have a special guest with me, Nate Gray, who at the age of 25, he went from working in a basement within 2 years, having a seven-figure recruitment business, and now living on the beach of Santa Monica from the power of having a recruiting company. So, Nate, definitely welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you on.
What's up? What's up? Happy to be on, man. I'm excited. I like podcasts and all that.
So, let's just jump in. Like, how'd you even get started with recruiting?
So, how I got started recruiting. Well, I used to do this stuff like on a very small level before I even found out that this was actually like a thing. So prior to this, I had a production studio, and we used to just make like 3D renders and like little advertisements for little small businesses and like musicians and whatever. And I had a little team. It was like five of us, two US based, and then some people out of Brazil. And at that time, I was like maybe like 19. And what's funny about this too is like it's funny how I find people all these jobs, but like I've never actually had like a real job of my own. Like I worked at like Wendy's and like solar panels, but like I've never had like a real job. But
Wait. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. You were 19 and you employed your own team.
yeah, dude. Like, and this is the cool part about this stuff too. Like everything that I've ever done, I've vlogged it just for stuff like this. Like I think I sent you like in the message when you first asked me, you was like, "Yo, I want you to come on." I'm like, "All right, bet," and I just start like literally every single thing I've done, even for me like being in these little jobs and like working on my business while I'm at the like literally everything is like documented and like vlog because I used to watch a lot of like Gary Vee and stuff, and he used to always be like, "Oh, like vlog your life." So I'm like, "All right, bet." So I just started just vlogging every fucking thing, and
Well, and I'll just say, like, one of the videos you shot me of when you started your recruiting company, it looks like you were in a basement with a blow up mattress and like, you're sitting there banging out phone calls.
hell yeah, bro, like hell yeah, like I was down there, and I even wanted to get a backstory on this shit. So I had a production thing, and in the midst of that, people who used to just ask me like, "Hey, like you know a photographer or whatever, or you know like a video person?" I used to be like, "Yeah," and I used to just like shoot them something, be like, "Hey, throw me $100 or something like that." You know what I mean? Like, and I was recruiting, but I didn't know that like this was like a thing people paid thousands of dollars for. Also, like I used to do this stuff for free too. So like people used to just ask me for people, I used to send them. And then one day I was on YouTube late at night and this ad came across, and there was this dude named Ben Nader. Rest in peace to him because I think he actually passed away, but rest in peace to him.
You know.
But I came across his thing, and I'm like, this is what I already been kind of like doing. And then plus other people in the past are kind of like hinted at it as well. Like, dude, you know what you're doing right now? So I'm like, all right, bet. So I'm gonna just go full in, all in, and then I just started diving into all information and whatever, dude. Like, just kind of like going at it. And mind you, too, when I say the production studio stuff too, it wasn't like a massive production studio where like I'm making millions of dollars. It was enough for me to like pay my rent in that little apartment, basement apartment, get food, gas, and
And have a team.
yeah, like it was just enough, but it wasn't enough to actually live like us a fulfilling life. You know what I mean? But it was like,
Hmm.
I mean, mind you, too, like I was 19, 20. So like, even then, not too many 19, 20 year olds was doing that anyway. So it's like, it don't really matter. But just to kind of set like the frame, so people don't be thinking, oh, this person had a dream works. You know what I'm saying? Like, but, uh,
Well,
yeah.
well, I also want to jump in one thing. Like, I know you mentioned it like before we hit record. You know, at that age and what you were doing, you couldn't afford some of these training programs, so you just went and
Oh,
learned.
even speaking of Ben Nader, he kicked me out of his group because I was asking too many questions. he kicked me out. I probably almost, and even this group that I'm in right now, I almost probably got kicked out of this group too because I used to be asking so many questions, like literally so many questions, dude, and like people would just be answering them or whatever because that's all I had. Also, even podcasts like this, it's this other podcast that I used to watch because mind you, I was digging in on everything. And what I did was I just looked at every single guest and just started reaching out to all of them like, hey, like, in exchange for I didn't have anything to offer. I'm just like, hey, I'll work for you for free if you showed me how to do this. And some of them actually responded. Some of them actually responded. I'm still in contact with them to this day. And like that's how I used to like get info. I used to just reach out to people, like just literally just reach out to people who I've seen done big stuff. And then even those people that helped me back then, I paid them back. Like for example, guy that I just mentioned, I sent him a referral for like MasterCard. It was like a MasterCard in, right? And that's a huge account, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, cause it was some dude that I used to work with at like a startup. It was like one of my first clients, and then he ended up getting hired at like MasterCard or whatever. And then I'm like, yo, like you helped me back then. Hey, this is so and so. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mm-hmm.
any type of free resources I could use, I would dig in on that. Any type of like any type of free resources I would use, I would dig in on that. Also, I'm not afraid to ask questions. I don't give can I curse on here?
You could
Oh,
cuss.
so I don't give a fuck like what people gotta say. Like, because mind you, I'm focused on what I'm trying to do. So you can say whatever the fuck you want to say, and I'm gonna just go and make sure I get to where I gotta go. While I'm asking, I'm still giving. And that's another thing too. Like even when I'm diving in, I'm still figuring out how I can give back. And one of the biggest things I could have back then was just my time. So I will offer my time to people. Now I actually know a few little things. Now I can give like little nuggets back. So like a lot of asking, bro, a lot of free resources, a lot of reaching out to people, and yeah.
Well, and pause. Like, I almost sounds like you're all on top of all that. You're also doing a lot of action.
Hell yeah. I would literally day and night, like literally day and night, like be up, and I even vlog all of this, dude. Like be up day and night, knocking out cold emails, like calling people, like a lot of shit, dude. A lot, like a lot.
And that's like the one thing I have seen with like at least like within some of the online communities, a lot of people like asking questions, answering stuff. But like after they ask a question, I don't think that they're most of the time they're taking and doing any action after it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's on them, because I'd be happy that they ask the questions, because I'm just use the answer they got and start doing it for my own shit. So like, but that is true though. Like a lot of people, don't really like, take action or whatever. But
Okay, so just jumping in, your niche is like within the media space, which is kind of cool. Like that's your background too. But is that how you decided the media space as your niche?
creative. I do creative recruiting. So I didn't include like media marketing or whatever.
Mhm.
Honestly, is I fell into that because it's just what was more I attractive to me. Like it just was more interesting to me. Because mind you, I had got like a tech client, and they had me doing like UX designer, like product, and I'm like, dude, I don't know this, and that's not even the thing. It's like not even the fact that I don't know it. It's like I'm not that interested in it. So it's like, what am I actually like interested in? I just started reaching out to them people that I was actually interested in. So yeah, and that's how I did that. Just straight interest, man.
I love that as a piece of advice when people are looking at or talking or asking about niches. Like, what's your interest?
Literally, because dude, you can make a lot of money in any niche. Like literally, every niche needs recruitment. I mean, I'm not saying everybody gonna be a multimillionaire in every single niche, but a lot of people don't even want to be a multimillionaire. A lot of people just want to have a couple of good checks and be able to take care of their family. So it's like, you can dive in anything. I mean, hell, literally anything. It's jobs for everything. So like,
Well, and here's actually a question I want to ask you. Like, looking at kind of like your experience of how you've grown your business, was there a point that just where things just clicked or shifted mentally for you that you went from like,
yup.
you know, you know where I'm going?
I'll let you finish, but go ahead.
Going from like just like slow solo, figuring this out to now you have a team of what, five? You know,
I'm gonna tell you. So, it came a time where, because my first placement that I got was like with a was it it was with a design studio, and then I had some other ones that came in with, it was like over $100,000 with a gaming studio. And after that, stuff kind of like slowed down. And I started reaching out to people on podcasts that I seen, and I was like, hey, like, can you help me or whatever? And somebody said, yeah. And one thing that he told me, he was like, you have to offer both services, both temp and direct hire, dealing with the type of stuff that we in right now. So, and he has sold multiple agencies. One he sold for like $20 million. So he was like, you have to offer both. And I was like, just offered, hey, I offered direct hire. I only offer this. He was like, no, you have to offer both. So that was one thing when I started offering both solutions, stuff skyrocketed. I got more responses on my cold emails, like a lot of stuff, like when I started offering both solutions. Um, Another thing too is uh I came across this guy, and this is a course that I paid for. It was like $30. It was this dude, he had this thing called win-win hiring. And he's like
Mm-hmm.
some big recruitment dude. And because one day I started thinking, I'm like, there's only so many LinkedIn profiles that I can actually reach out to. And one day I'm going to spam all of them. Because mind you, before I was just literally just spamming people with the same message. I'm like, one day I'm going to eventually run out. So I'm like, I need to figure out like how to get around that. Also, too, people kept like feeling like I'm some like disposable person that they can just like talk to like any type of way, or like just think that they can just say anything to. And I needed a way to actually position myself in a way where I'm the nugget, like I'm the
Mm-hmm.
key in every situation. So like what I started doing was well, not what I started doing, what I learned from that course from that person. I like to give people their credit, but was when you first reach out to people, it's all about like opening up a conversation with them. So I'm not like, hey, I have this job for you. I'm like, hey, I do XYZ. I can help you out with XYZ. Maybe we should chat and get to know each other. Right. And then when I started framing things like that, when I got on calls with people, it was less tension. It was like more of a regular conversation. Also, they just started spitting me out referrals. I remember I was doing a copywriter role one time for this experiential marketing agency, and every single call that I got on, I was getting like 5 referrals off of every single call. Qualified people, local people, just because I was opening up the relationship like that. You see what I'm saying? So like
Mm-hmm.
those two things, number one, like uh offering both solutions, and then secondly, which is I think I posted in the Facebook group and they all got mad about it, but like opening up a conversation like that, and then doing things like that, that's what really like skyrocketed. And now there is a point where you need to like sell. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the beginning of establishing a relationship with somebody is, I've learned, is that's like the best way, and it gives you like more referrals. So like those are the two major
And
things.
that's what almost every single guest talks about, the relationships that they make with their clients is what's it really helped them develop their big business. And I mean, I, any hiring manager probably gets flooded with just generic emails all the time. And you got to do something absolutely different.
hmm I offer the hiring manager. I tell the hiring manager I can help you find a job, just so they don't think that I'm some person that they think is. I literally tell the CMO, hey, if you ever need a job in the future, I can help you out.
So are you like NPCing those people if somebody says yes?
I mean, sometimes.
Okay,
So
cool,
like,
awesome.
so everybody can get a job. Everybody can.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and that's how I like to position stuff. I can help you recruit, and I can also help you find a job. And yeah. So
So the way that your current company is set up, you have part of your team's here in the U.S., part of your team is overseas. What is the future of your organization, and what are you building?
so imagine I want to build a global community that just so happens to support HR. So here's what I mean by that. Here's what I mean by that. I do not want my staffing company to feel like a staffing company. I want it to feel like a community, people. Because to be realistic, every person that you reach out to is not going to get a job from you. There's too many people and not enough jobs. But I wanted to make sure that every person I actually talk to gets something out of working with STEM staffing, right? So now this isn't even just like job related stuff. I mean, like meetups, even like little lounges. I want to open like even lounges where people can literally sit and work. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a lot of different stuff that is going to be like involved with this thing, and stuff that's actually even happening even when it comes to like meetups. I do meetups now, C-suite meetups, creator director
Okay.
meetups. A
Actually,
lot of
talk about that real quick.
so like this is a big thing. Like the meetup and networking event game is so great because number one, it gives you an opportunity to meet people in person. Also, it positions you in a position of power because people know you have the keys. So, like, say for example, I want to work with advertising agencies, and then I host meetups that only the brands they want to work with can get in. They're going to literally like do anything to be in there. You see what I'm saying? So like, and then also, you know, it's a way to meet people in person. It's a way to be able to hold the keys, and also it's a community. It's a community thing as well. You see what I'm saying? So where people can from other industries or other spaces can meet people. You see what I'm saying? So like,
Oh,
and
I love that because actually in DC I used to host some like leadership dinners.
yeah, yeah, and that's that type of stuff. That type of stuff is like is super super cool. Like, and a lot of it you can do for free, and a lot of places will let you like. It's a bar up the street from my house that lets people do networking events in there all the time because they know people are going to buy drinks. So like, um, so yeah, like you know, meetups, doing a lot of that, and you know, having C-suite people come through, uh, creative directors, whoever come through, and also I make them highly curated too. So because another problem with these networking events is like sometimes you go there and you meet people that provide no value to you, you know, so like I make sure they're curated. So if there's a creative director from an advertising agency there that services healthcare brands, I want to make sure that there's a creative director from a healthcare brand that they could possibly meet. So like that's how I kind of like curate them and stuff. But like saying that to say, as far as like my agency, it's gonna be a community that just so happens to offer HR solutions. That's how it's gonna feel. So it's going and I feel like that's going to position me like and mine just a long-winded answer, but I feel like it's going to position me so crazy because eventually I want to sell my agency. So I feel like it's going to position me so crazy because you know whoever buys this thing is going to be buying an actual brand. Like when they buy it, they're going to buy a brand, a community, and a referral machine. That's what they're going to buy:
And
a community, a brand, and a referral machine. And that,
and that works like so well in the creative space too.
yeah, hell yeah.
Well, that kind of goes into like some of the another question I was going to ask you. You know, it sounds like you're putting on events. It sounds like you're curating special like networking groups. What is a good way for a recruit? What do you think is a good way for recruiters to gain new business in 2023?
Um, does it have to be like a new way that people don't already know?
No, what do you whatever you think is working.
Okay. Number one, the OG of OGs is cold email. So cold email. A person that people need to look up and learn cold email from is this guy named Alex Berman. This is actually a friend of mine, internet friend of mine. He helped me when I was down in that basement. We both follow each other. We both talk. And he's like really, really huge on YouTube. He has like 100,000 subscribers or whatever. And all he talks about is cold email. He has like SaaS tools and everything. Now you can, because the way that I see a lot of these recruiters do cold email is like completely wrong. It's like super wordy and like it's just all bad. So like this person will literally teach you everything you need to know about cold email. His name is Alex Berman. He is like the GOAT of cold email. So that's number one. Because I mean, just basic. You send out 1,000 cold emails, you're gonna get a client. You're gonna get clients. So like that's number one. The second thing I would say, which people, a lot of these older people don't wanna agree with, is social media. Social media content. A lot of these people, they say, "Oh, social media content doesn't work," or social media, whatever isn't. No, just the shit that you're putting out sucks. Now, I'm not saying that everything that I put out is like going crazy, crazy viral, but I get a lot of inbound off of my social media content. And now that I have enough like runway and like a little breathing room to kind of dial in on it, now I'm about to really like dial in on it to the point where like my shit can be going like viral, because you got to think people spend more time on social media than they do in their email account.
That's
So if
true.
you're constantly in front of their face, and especially if you know how to run paid media, now and this is another thing too. A lot of these agencies aren't running paid. I've never really seen a paid advertisement from a staffing company before. Like really not ever. So like paid paid media, social media content, that's gonna be like super, super, super crucial, especially with AI and stuff like that coming out. And now people can type in who is the best uh creative staffing agency, and they're gonna pick for you. Now this content shit is really, really gonna matter. Like really, really, really gonna matter. So I would say number one is the cold email. Obviously, look up that guy Alex Bartman. He's had multiple exits, done a ton of stuff, and then social media content, which a lot of the older people, they don't want to listen, but they will eventually. Because I'm now, even with the social media stuff, I'm vlogging the social media growth too. So when they see my shit hit 100,000 followers, right? Then they're not gonna, But that's a whole nother thing there. But that's what I would
I'll,
say.
I'll just I'll just say this. I've have had clients see the videos that I cut from the Elite Recruiter podcast. It somehow shows up in their feed. They're not friends with me on TikTok or Instagram. It just pops up in their feed, and they're like, "Oh, Benjamin knows his shit."
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of it too, even kind of digging on the social media stuff. I mean, the basics of it is you just staying in front of their faces. It just gives you opportunity to stay in front of people's faces. If you're connected with them on LinkedIn, or if you're connected with them on Instagram or whatever, you can stay in front of their faces. Even if you're not talking about something that even benefits them really. You know? Even if you're talking about soccer, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But now imagine if, and even with it'll this podcast right here will convince somebody that recruiting, but that isn't even really benefiting them either. Now imagine if they're a creator director and then you're putting out content about creator direction, and then they're consuming that on a daily basis.
I'll
So
just say
it's
this. I think you hit a point right there. I think podcasting is like could be easily be a secret weapon for business development in 2023. I had a podcast that I put together for the Web3 space just because I wanted to explore it. And every podcast is also for LinkedIn. You can have short videos for TikTok and Instagram and LinkedIn. But yeah, it just one podcast episode that can be 30 minutes long gives you so much content for a good month.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and even with that content too, it's another community play. It's another community, because I'm all about community, man. Because that's how you get the referrals. So like, I'm all about community. So putting out that content is just another community play, man. So, yeah. But that's my answer to that.
Awesome. So, want to jump into what I call the quick fire questions. Um, what advice would you give to a brand new recruiter that's just starting off in the industry in 2023?
Number one, your marketing campaigns are working. You just haven't reached out to enough people. So the pool of people that you reached out to isn't large enough. So so that's the first thing. So people think if they reach out to 50 companies that's enough. That's not enough. Like, unless they're like extremely, extremely warm leads, like meaning they're already kind of ready to buy. You need to reach out to 1,000 companies. And 1,000 companies is not that hard to do. That's 100 companies a day. I mean, you can do that in 10 days. I did that in 10 days. So, like, reach out to 1,000 companies and just keep the message very plain and simple. Hi, custom message to that person. I offer this. It costs this. I can help you do this. Let's talk. And then just follow up like 4 times. Somebody's going to answer. You don't even need to get creative. Say you like their company. Hi, I love Nickelodeon. I offer recruitment services. They cost this amount. I do this. Let's talk. And then follow up like 4 times. And do that for 1,000 companies. You're guaranteed to get somebody to respond to you because it's just a matter of odds. If you knock on 1,000 doors, somebody's going to end up answering one. So it's just an odds game. It's not even like a conversion or whatever technical game. It's just odds. So first thing for starting recruiters is your marketing campaigns are working. You're just not reaching out to enough people. So start out with 1,000, and I can guarantee you somebody's going to respond to you. It's just a matter of odds. The next thing I would tell um, a beginning recruiter is, you can find candidates via job ads. So I remember somebody told me, they were like, oh, job ads, you can't find people in a job ad that if you post a job ad on LinkedIn. You can run a paid job ad for like $5 a day, get like a zillion candidates, and somebody in there is going to be qualified for that job. I literally just placed a person. I had a 30, no. In January, I placed a person, $60,000 commission, design manager, job ad, completely qualified from top to bottom. So that's the second thing. You can find your candidates via job ads. I used to think I used to have to reach out and try to find passive people 24/7. It's like, no, you can post a LinkedIn job ad. People will apply and you can pluck them out of there really quick and get them the role. You know what I mean? So, and that's the second thing I would say. And the last thing I would give a beginning recruiter is that tip too, like opening up conversations instead of like pitching people jobs. And that's it.
Awesome. And this is going to be the same question, but for people that have been around the block like a decade or two, what advice would you give them to win
Social
in 20?
media. So a lot of these people, they like, and mind you, I give them their credit. I give them their credit because I mean, a lot of these dudes, they didn't build like $1 zillion agencies, exits, like, they're just proven. But a consistent thing amongst all of them is the lack of social media like appreciation and like knowledge behind it. A lot of them don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, you tell them, ask them what a selfie is, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you. So like, I would say social media is like a really, really big thing that I would tell, the big dogs to do is to focus a lot on that. And also another thing I would say is that community thing too, because to be realistic, a lot of people don't like recruiters, and a lot of people feel like staffing companies cheat them on their fees and everything too. So like, I feel like community is a big play and will help them build a better reputation in whatever market they're in too. Because look at, mind you, I try to follow the biggest people in the space. And when I look at them, like they're not doing it. And even if I ask you who work for them, they're not doing it. So like, that's what I would say. Social media, community.
Awesome. So the next question I have for you is there a book that's had a huge impact on your career?
Blue Ocean Strategy.
Okay.
So, have you heard of this book?
I have heard of it, but go ahead and talk about it for the listeners.
So Blue Ocean Strategy pretty much teaches you how to position yourself in a crowded market. So let's just say recruiting. It teaches you how to position yourself in a crowded market to the point where your competition is irrelevant. So My competition is irrelevant simply off the pure basis of community and social. Community and social. Like, even when I posted every call that I get on, I get 5 referrals. Oh, you're lying because blah, 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 blah. Right? That just goes to show you, like, exactly what I'm talking about. So a blue ocean for me is like social and community, because I want to get to the point where I don't even have to recruit anybody. I can just post this job is here, and then people will just start referring me people. That's how I want. That's how the end game of how I want it to be. As of right now, I have to ask people, right, and they all do it. But I want to get it to the point where I just say this is the job that's going up, and people start referring people. Because you even see, like, say if you post, say if you post, no, say if you see like the CEO of Netflix post, hey, we have a new designer role open. A zillion people are going to start referring all of their friends, right? But that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily happen in the staffing space, really. Unless you're like a really popular person and people kind of like you. You know what I'm saying? So like
Mm-hmm.
I want to get it to that point. So a blue ocean in my space is social and community, right?
Okay.
That's like a blue ocean. And there are a ton of other blue oceans that people probably know that I just don't know about. But that's what that book pretty much talks about. Um
Well, let me kind of ask you this question too.
oh
Like,
yeah, wait. And I
oh,
want to give an
okay.
example of a blue ocean. IKEA. That was a big example in that book. IKEA. So IKEA is a furniture store, but you just got to put your own shit together. And that was their blue ocean, right? So they can compete with all these different furniture stores because simply they don't put the furniture together. You see what I'm saying? So like, and it's a lot of other different blue oceans that you can pretty much read about in that book, but that was a good book.
Well, and I'm going to ask this question, and I probably should ask it for everybody, but you're younger. There's many ways to learn. Is there something else that's really helped you along your learning journey?
Doing and asking,
Okay.
doing and asking, bro. Like literally doing and asking, man. Like number one, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, don't be afraid to sound stupid. Like, I have literally no issue with embarrassing myself, like, ever. Like, just ask as many questions as possible, but just make sure when you ask for something that you're also giving something in exchange. So even if you don't have something, maybe it's your time. Like, even when I didn't have anything, it was literally my time. So like, ask and enjoy embarrassing yourself. Even if you post in like these groups, enjoy all of the people with the negative comments too. I love them because they just give me more feedback. So like I enjoy it. So like asking, and then after you ask, actually do.
Very
And
nice.
then also record yourself doing it too, so then you can like see how stupid or how good you actually look when you do it. And then also, if anybody ever has something to say, you can be like, dude, I literally have a video of myself from 5 years ago doing this exact thing that you saying that doesn't work, or saying that it should be done. You see what I mean? So
Mhm.
asking, doing, and then documenting. Asking, doing, documenting. And then that's the best way to like learn, in my opinion. That's the best way I learn. So
I love that. Well, here's a question I absolutely love asking. If you could go back and with all the knowledge and experience you have and talk to yourself when you first started off your career, what advice would you give yourself?
number one, focus on what I like early, because I will always just be looking at, oh, which industry has the most jobs, or like which, so like, or which industry quote unquote pays the most. So like, number one, focus on something that you actually like, enjoy doing, or even something that you probably look at in your pastime. So if somebody out there likes cooking, focus on restaurants, focus on, I don't know, food startups, or focus on whatever. I mean, so number one, focus on what you actually like doing. Number two, bigger pool of people. So like instead of reaching out to 1,000 companies, reach out to 2,000. So that's what I would say. And then also another thing I would say is never stop business development. Ever. Never stop. Never. Because if something dries up, you don't want to be like scrambling trying to find new clients. Like never stop business development. Ever. Like every day should be another 10 people that you're reaching out to. And then that's what I would say to my
Awesome.
self again.
No, definitely great advice. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you would love to share with the listeners?
Anything else that I would love to share? Um, hmm. Oh, this account management thing that I found out from another podcast that I watched. So every quarter, I pretty much can squeeze out bare minimum an extra $25,000 per client each quarter, right? Here's how. You pretty much, after each quarter, you ask the client to do a quarterly review. In this quarterly review, you go over everything that you've done correctly for them during that quarter. You also go over things that you observed during the quarter, and also you go over future things that they may need during that quarter, not the month, the quarter, right? Now, when you do that, it gives you an opportunity to sell more like job orders. And then also you can start preparing yourself for roles they have coming up. So for example, I did a quarterly review with this consulting firm. They told me that they needed a marketing manager earlier this year. Now I got a stack of marketing managers ready to go just because I know that that's what they're probably going to end up asking for. Right. And then I know that they're going to end up giving me that job order too. And some of them give you that job order right on the spot. Right. But you have to position it like a quarterly review. Now, this is an account management play. Like advertising companies and other different types of companies do this type of thing. They have like account managers that work with the client day to day and whatever and make sure that they're pretty much settled in. Right. So like do that same thing. Set up quarterly reviews, look into how to be a good account manager or how to even hire a good account manager. Right. And even if you actually hired a good account manager, hire a person like the person that you hired. So then they can help you squeeze more juices out of your contracts. So like that's one big thing that I learned from watching this another lady who was just like light years ahead of me, and she was just dropping gems, and I'm like, all right, I'm about to do it, and it just started working. So that's one last thing that I would tell people.
Awesome. Great advice. And Nate, I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast. I absolutely love your growth over the last few years, literally going from a basement to on the beach in LA, which is phenomenal. And these conversations that you had in the Facebook group, I'm glad that we actually connected from them. So thank you for sharing.
Hell
And
yeah!
glad to have you on this podcast. And for the listeners, until next time, guys.
Thanks.